Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. The latest episode of My Hero Academia is out. Episode 102, Off to Endeavor's Agency. And honestly, I think that this episode has actually cleared a lot of my fears. Because the fact is that this goes through a lot of the Endeavor Agency arc in a very short amount of time. And basically, it goes from basically right after what we just saw in the Christmas special last episode to all basically get all the way through volume 25. Pretty much. Like, obviously there is still some stuff that is left to be happening, but it's honestly pretty much everything. Like, that is pretty much all that is left of volume 25 before we are done with this whole thing. And the other factor is that, well, Volume 26, I can't see them going much further. Like, at most, they might go through the Dinner with Endeavor's family in this series. So basically, maybe have one episode where they're dealing with just random stuff that is going on throughout a lot of the episode. Basically, everything that happens up until the dinner party, which, let me make sure that I get to the proper location. So yeah, that's about this much, on top of what I just showed you for how much is left of Volume 25. We would likely go through about that, and then one more episode going through the dinner at Endeavor's. And that's going to be a pretty intense episode as it is, and I can understand why they would want to devote some time to this. On top of the fact that a lot of the different aspects of this episode, and even to a certain degree the last episode, a lot of these factors have been kind of showing more and more that they are planning to do something with the villain arc. They pretty much everything has been hinting towards the villain arc is happening, but a lot of this is reworking it in order to make things flow a little bit better. And the other factor is that the pretty much everything that happens with Shirakumo and the and Class A's prep before we actually start the war arc, that feels like an early episode for the next season. Getting everyone prepared, introducing the students back to the rest of the group, because there are a lot of these moments where we get to see the different things that the different students are able to do, and it's almost this whole little section of just everyone working together and to show off their moves to each other. It feels like, well, a starting episode for a lot of these past seasons, which putting it at putting this entire half right before the the war arc actually makes a lot of sense. And on top of that, by getting basically everything done with My Hero, with the hero side, it allows the creators of the anime to pretty much wrap everything up before they actually devote huge amounts of time to, well, one of the most important arcs of the series. The fact is that even though it's only like 2 volumes, that for the entire villain arc, it has so many details within it that I honestly can't imagine them not devoting a good amount of time just to this arc, because it has so many details and develops so many of the characters to a point where I had to stop multiple times when I was reading through it originally just to stand up, walk away for a few minutes, and then come back to continue reading because it was just too intense at the time. And it really is a lot of just chaos and hurt for a lot of these characters, and it's insane. And understandably, they'd want to finish off the series with that. But on top of that, the opening and ending feel a lot darker than previous seasons. And not necessarily in the visuals, but oddly enough, they do certainly feel a little bit darker than they usually do. But they don't seem to be getting people prepped for the war arc. It feels like just showing off different characters just to show them off. It doesn't feel like we're setting up the honestly insane events of the war arc. It feels like a moving towards the war arc, but not quite we're there yet. And oddly enough, I'd say that there's actually a pretty good chance that this is going to be the only opening that is going to change midway through its time. Having episode 102, 103, and 104 having the current opening, but then changing it up so that the entire visuals completely changed to now be the villain, basically being the My Villain Academia. Which, keep in mind, in that whole arc, they kind of make their way to cover up My Hero Academia to make it say My Villain Academia. It's on multiple pages, and it's kind of interesting. And they show certain scenes from the villain arc, and it makes me at least realize that they are kind of setting this up. And more than likely there will be a episode that is going to start off the entire series by saying a few years, like just a little bit ago, back when, basically right before everything that happened with Endeavor at the beginning of the series, at the beginning of the season, and saying, okay, here's all this stuff, get ready for chaos, because it is about to happen. And then going through each and every aspect of it to a much easier degree. And in this certain way, we're seeing a lot of the stuff that we are currently seeing through these past few episodes in the ways that the students would see it. And pretty much, they are all oblivious. And sure, we get a few little scenes with Hawks, but he doesn't know much, yet we, the audience, know a lot more. So what they will probably be doing is going through each and every single episode and possibly going through a lot of what is to come, because even in this section that we've already seen, there is a lot of things that simply we don't see. I mean, sure, they set up a few of the things, but to a degree, we have not seen a lot of the aspects that even Hawks has been aware of in these episodes to basically get ready for all of this. This is a new way of handling this stuff, which I, for one, am ready to see how exactly they handle it. My Hero Academia has always been about the hero characters. And understandably, it's going to be a weird transition. It was a weird transition in the manga, the way that they handled it. But to a certain degree, it made sense, the way that they handled it. But at the same time, it feels like a bit of a jump. Basically, we see a little bit from the Dentrant group, seeing basically what he's been doing, and then we see stuff with Bakugo and Todoroki, and then after that, from then on through the rest of the series, until the about halfway through volume 25, we get, well, the villain arc. And there is nothing to do with the heroes until that point. And even moving forward, there are a lot of scenes with the villains. And a lot of these scenes feel like there's something that we're going to be seeing a lot more information from within the actual villain arc. Because a lot of these scenes just, they don't feel connected. And a lot of this is just to rework things so that it feels more fluid. And I'm actually starting to think that they probably wanted to get everything at first, including the Endeavor Agency arc, crammed into the first half of the season so that they could focus the second half of the season to only be My Hero Academia, or My Villain Academia. Getting all of that taken care of before everyone saw everything that was happening. And honestly, I'm excited to see how they handle it. And like I said, it's different. And I honestly, like I said, I could see both the opening and the ending actually changing very drastically to really set up these two events. Because this isn't just the Endeavor Agency arc. It doesn't feel like the Endeavor Agency arc opening. It feels like a villain arc opening. And sure, they do have some Endeavor stuff, but the Endeavor arc is so short as it is, literally only being like one volume if you actually combined it, and even then it's weird because sure, pretty much all of volume 26 is technically the Endeavor Agency arc, but a lot of that is a bit of a pretty much half of this volume is setting up the war arc. And I do mean that. Getting, basically reintroducing the characters, developing stuff with Aizawa Shirakumo and, Present Mike, and then, obviously, like I said, dealing with a lot of the stuff that the heroes are going to be dealing with. Dealing with the Hot Pot, the stuff with Eri, actually setting up everything that is going to be happening moving forward in the war arc. Actually starting the war arc, which, keep in mind, the war arc is not an easy chapter to go through. It is insane. And as far as I'm aware, it goes from basically, like I said, about halfway through volume 26, a little bit afterwards, but still, maybe about a fourth of it, through volume 27, volume 28, volume 29, and even it's looking like there's still going to be a little bit of it in volume 30. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a huge amount in volume 30, as most of that is going to be setting up the Lone Wolf arc, but the fact remains that it's a long arc. It is almost as long as the Hideout Raid arc. Obviously, it's a little bit shorter, but it's still a long arc. And honestly, it's one of those arcs that you kind of want to have be getting an entire season all to itself. And because seriously, the Lone Wolf arc is going to be also insane looking. Just seeing what it's done so far. And honestly, I would be surprised if they actually start implementing a lot more anime-only episodes to basically balance out all of the chaos that happens over these arcs. Because it is hard. These few arcs are extremely hard to handle if you're not ready for it. And if you're obviously watching it episode to episode, and for those who binge it, they're going to be having a really hard time, because it is, if you've watched this stuff already, you kind of know that it's going to be insane, or you've read it, that's Well, I mean, but seriously, the Endeavor Agency arc was basically supposed to be a buffer. And in this situation, it's looking like it's not going to be a buffer. There's not going to be a buffer. So, yeah. We'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. But, like I said, I'm excited, and I hope that you guys are as well. Seriously, at this point, I'm starting to think, yes, the villain arc is going to happen. We're not going to just skip to the war arc, because that opening just clearly was not meant to be for the war arc, because it feels nothing like it. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and ring the notification bell. Of course, if you have any thoughts or theories about this series or any other thing that I talk about, then please make sure to leave them down in the comments below. If you are going to leave a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in a comment. And of course, if you do want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out all of our links down there, including our social medias, our other channels, and ways that you can support us financially, including the merch store, the book, and of course our Patreon, which a big thank you to our current patron, Sheeny. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!